Hello everyone, warm welcome. I welcome you all in the very new session of Finance Current Affairs, where we will be covering the finance current affairs from 17th to 19th of May. As you know, this session is going to be really very important because we will be discussing many important news related to RBI as well as the other financial world. But before I start the discussion, last जो हमारा session था, that was, I would say, quite tough. I have witnessed, I have received a number of feedbacks from you all that the last session was quite tough, but I'm pretty sure that you must have learned many new things from the previous session. But जो आज की हमारी news है, the news which we are going to cover today, or I would say the RBI master direction which we are going to cover today is pretty easy. And trust me guys, I have made it so easy that you will be able to understand it in the very first flow itself. Okay. So let's begin the discussion. May I have a reply in the comment section that I'm audible, visible, everything is fine, we are good to go, so that we can begin the discussion without any further delay. Quickly guys, give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs up if everything is fine, we are good to go. Fine, okay. Audio, video, everything is fine, okay. Chalo. Let's first try to solve few questions based on the previous session, and I'm pretty sure you will be able to answer those questions from the previous session in the very first discussion itself, because the news was tough. But what I have done is I have constructed pretty doable questions from it, so that you will gain that confidence कि ठीक है, अगर ऐसी कोई news होगी तो I will be in a position to answer this. I will be in a position to answer the questions from the examination point of view. ठीक है, चलो. So let's begin the discussion with the very first question of the evening. As you all know, we always do this on regular basis, that first we complete the entire discussion, and after completing the entire discussion, we solve the questions in the very next session, which is really very important for you. So let's go. Let's start the discussion with the first question, and the first question is now on your screen. Read the question guys, give me the answer in the comment section. Read the question guys and give me the answer in the comment section please. Read it carefully, give me the answer. It's a doable question. Okay, I'll read it for you. What does the question says? If we talk about the question, so the question says, under the fully accessible route, what is the key feature regarding investment limits for non-resident investors is specified government securities? Investors are capped at 10% of the total outstanding stock. Okay. What is the second point? What does the second point says? So the second point in this context says that investments, they are limited to sovereign wealth funds only. Okay. There are no investment limits or macro prudential controls. Only listed entities can invest through this route. Investment must be held at least for 5 years. So the answer to this particular question is C option, that there are no investment limits or macro prudential. There are no investment limits or macro prudential control. So the answer is going to be C option. Next question. Which of the following conditions applicable to foreign portfolio investments under the voluntary retention route? So under the voluntary retention route, which of the following are the conditions which are applicable on FPIs? We all know that VRR, it is basically Voluntary retention route, 3 years, that is a clause which we need to remember. Must invest only in municipal bonds, wrong sir. Repatriation of the funds is allowed anytime, no sir, there is a condition of 3 years. Must invest at least 75% of the committed portfolio size within 3 months, that is absolutely true. No separate account required, sir, no separate account is required for the transaction. Minimum retention period is 1 year, no sir, minimum retention period is 3 years. So the answer to this particular question is again the C option. Many of you are giving me the correct answer. I hope now you must be feeling that confidence कि हाँ भाई अगर एक बार हमने टाइम स्पेंड किया, एक बार हमने न्यूज को देखा, which was quite difficult, but over the period of time now we are in a position to answer the questions pretty clearly on those news as well. So going on to the next question, guys. The next question says, what is the investment limit for FPI in corporate debt securities under general route? If I talk about investment limit for FPI, so if I talk about FPI limit for government securities, is it what? So it is 6%. If I talk about state government, the limit is 2% of the outstanding stock. Then obviously, what will be the limit for corporate debt security, guys? What will be the limit for corporate debt security? May I have the answer, please? What will be the limit for corporate debt security? Quickly give me the answer in the comment section. And if you haven't liked the session yet, I would request you quickly hit the like button as well, and quickly share the link of this session with your friends so that more and more students, they can join us live in this particular session itself. Got it? Chalo. So the answer to this particular question is, the answer is 15% of the outstanding stock of corporate bonds is the investment limit for FPI. So in that particular case, the answer is going to be what? So the answer is going to be D option. Many of you have given the correct answer. That is absolutely correct. Moving to the next. According to the master direction, what is the minimum residual maturity requirement for FPIs investing in corporate debt under general route? Are you getting my point? What is the minimum residual maturity requirement for FPIs? If I talk about FPIs in this case, what is the minimum residual maturity requirement for its FPIs investing in corporate debt? That is different. But if I talk about FPIs in government securities, in that case, there is no limit as such, or there is no requirement as such. So there is no requirement in terms of minimum residual maturity requirements. There is no requirement as such. But on the other side, if I talk about corporate debt security, sir, in case of corporate debt security, the minimum residual maturity should be above 1 year. Should be above what? Sir, it should be above 1 year. Is it clear, everyone? Is it clear, everyone? Got it, guys? Clear? Moving ahead. Chalo. Let's move on to the next question now. What does the next question says? So the next question is now on your screen. The question says, which instrument is excluded? Which instrument is excluded from voluntary retention route eligibility for non-resident investment? ETFs that invest entirely in debt instruments, they are included, yes sir. Repos and reverse repos up to 10%, they are included, yes sir. Government securities, sure sir. Units of domestic mutual funds that invest in equity, no sir, they are not included. Listed corporate bonds, they are included. So if you remember, under the voluntary retention route, if foreign direct investment, foreign portfolio investment is done, and in that particular case, if the foreign portfolio investment is done in any kind of mutual fund or ETF, that is electronic mutual fund or ETF, in that particular case, exchange traded fund, in that particular case, if the investment is done in equity, then you will not be allowed to invest, because these were the directions based on what? So these are the direction related to the debt securities, how they will allow you to invest under the equity instrument. So that was the condition which was given. Moving on to the next point. The next point says, what must an FPI do if a to be listed corporate debt securities under VRR is not listed within the SEBI prescribed period? What does it say? Guys, let's suppose you are a foreign portfolio investor and you want to invest through the voluntary retention route, and the moment you have decided to invest in the voluntary retention route, you have invested in those corporate debt securities which are going to be listed. They are not listed yet, but they will be listed very soon. But what if in near future they are not listed within the SEBI prescribed period? Then what will be the result? So the result is, wait until listing is done, no. Request RBI exemption, no. Right of investment, no. Convert it to equity, no. Sell the security to the issuer or the third party immediately. You must sell that security to the issuer, whosoever is issuing it, whosoever has issued it to you, कि भैया आपने मुझे कहा था कि ये जो security है, it will be listed very soon, but unfortunately it has not been listed, so I am not allowed by SBI to invest in these kind of securities. I request you to purchase it back. If it purchase it back, it's fine. Otherwise, you can sell it to the third party immediately. That is the requirement. Last question from the previous day news. Who monitors the utilization of FPI investment limits in government securities? Very important. This is very important, that who monitors the utilization of FPI investment limits in government securities? Is it SEBI? Is it NPCI? Is it Clearing Corporation of India? Is it RBI? Is it Ministry of Finance? What will be your answer? Those who have read the PDF which I have provided to them, on my Telegram channel, they must be able to answer this question, because this point was not discussed in the class, but it was very clearly mentioned in the PDF. So the answer is Clearing Corp. Chalo, I'll not give the answer. Wait. I'll not give the answer to this particular question, guys. Let's keep it as a homework. Let's keep this question as a homework. In order to find the answer to this particular question, do download the PDF of the previous session, which is available on my Telegram channel. उस PDF को अच्छे से पढ़ो, then only you will be able to answer this question. Otherwise, it's going to be impossible. ठीक है जी? Clear हो गया? Is it good? Is it fine? Are we good to go? चलो. So let's begin the discussion. Let's begin the discussion with the next news of the day. So, chalo, let's quickly start the discussion. I'll just quickly share the link of this session, which I have not done in the starting, because of which many of the students, they are not even aware that the class is live. So I'll quickly share the link and then we'll begin the discussion. But before I start, guys, I would like to inform you one thing, that today the next RBI direction which we are going to discuss, it's really very important. And the importance is in two formats. The first format, importance is with respect to the probability, that whether it will be asked in the examination or not. Then my answer is for sure it will be asked in the examination. It has a capability. It has that capability that it can be asked in the examination for sure. And secondly, the news which we are going to discuss, the master direction which I'm going to discuss with you in some time, that master direction, I have break it down so easily. I have break it down in such an easy manner that you can understand it for sure. क्योंकि पिछली क्लास में मुझे थोड़ा अजीब लगा. I felt very bad for the students because you were struggling with that particular news. So in order to save you guys, in order to help you guys, I have done my homework pretty well this time, and I have made the next RBI direction very easy to understand. I have used very easy terms so that you can understand it very well, and I have made the flow. I have discussed the flow not the way it is given in the master direction, rather I am discussing it in the manner that you will be able to decode it, you will be able to understand it. Are you all ready? I hope you all are ready. Let's get started. Let's get started with this discussion. Chalo. Here we go with the first news. So today the master direction we have is master direction given by RBI on digital lending. So we have a master direction on digital lending, and it is named as Digital Lending 2025. But as we always know, If we are discussing something, we will be discussing it from scratch to advance. So the scratch level says on the first line, or I would say in the first line of this slide, it is written digital lending. So I would like to discuss with you what is digital lending. But rather than discussing only digital lending, I plan to discuss it with comparison to the ट्रेडिशनल लैंडिंग एज वेल. व्हाट इज ट्रेडिशनल लैंडिंग? याद करो, जब आप बैंक के पास गए, आपने बैंक को रिक्वेस्ट की, सर लोन चाहिए, बैंक ने आपको लोन दिया, आप लोन लेकर घर आ गए, आपने उस लोन को यूटिलाइज किया. सो व्हेन यू अप्रोच द बैंक, that means you physically reach to the bank, you physically sign the documents, you physically fulfill all the requirements of the bank. That is, you give your photograph in physical, you give your official valid document, photostat copy in physical. So everything is provided in physical manner, and over the counter, I would say, sharing of information is done, signatures are given, then only the loan disbursement is done. That kind of lending is known as traditional lending. But on the other side, what is digital lending? Guys, digital lending basically means आप घर बैठकर, if you can apply for a loan and you are receiving the loan into your bank account without even approaching to the bank branch or any other bank office or any other bank authority, that is basically termed as what? So that is basically termed as digital lending. Now let's discuss the nitty-gritties of the same. The first one is process and application. The application process includes, in case of traditional lending, it includes filling out paper forms, meeting people in person, that means meeting the bank employees in person and doing things manually. Borrower usually go to the bank branch or financial institution to request for loan, hand in the documents and have their credit checked. But on the other side, the entire application process is online, which is usually done through a website or an application. Applicant do not need to visit in person. They just fill out the forms, submit the documents, and they will get the approval on the digital format. And on the digital format itself, the entire amount will be credited back into their account. This is known as what? So this is known as digital lending. Accessibility, sir, the way I say, traditional lending is accessible to all the borrowers, but they can access the traditional lending during the business hours, during the working days of the banks. Unlike traditional banking or traditional lending, digital lending is available 24/7. You can apply for loan 24/7 with the help of application, with the help of website which have been provided to you. So you can use that application or the website in order to access the loan. Second is speed and efficiency. In case of traditional lending, obviously as the name suggests, it's a slow process. क्योंकि पहले आप जाओगे, you will give the documents, then they'll say this document is incomplete. You will again go back, get the new document, fulfill the requirement. They say photograph match नहीं हो रही, then they will ask you to get a new passport size photograph. So obviously it's going to be time consuming and it is less efficient because there is an immense expense of customer as well as lender is involved. Unlike in case of digital lending, where the digital lending can be done very easily. It is done through the algorithmic manner. For example, I say I have an account with ICICI and even I am using PhonePe, even I am using an application known as Cred. So on these three applications, I am making my expenses, or on Cred, I am paying my credit card bills. So Cred as well as PhonePe, they are very well aware of my credit worthiness. They are very well aware of my fund circulations. They are very well aware of my capability, that what amount I'm making or what amount I'm spending every month, what income I'm receiving on regular basis, what is my total cash flow in and out in a particular month. So with the help of this data, they share this data with the third party on my consent, or even if they have tied up themselves with certain lending authorities, then they will share that data with the lending authorities and tell them कि भैया ये individual है, he is having an account with us, he has a great paying capacity or expense capacity, he has a good I would say credit of funds on regular basis every month. So this is one who can be your best customer in order to provide loans. So that is the reason you receive a message, you have been shortlisted or you are eligible for a personal loan of 2 lakh rupees, sometimes you feel that कि भैया मैं eligible हूँ 2 लाख के लिए, ये कैसे possible है? They are just coming up with a fake message, or they are just trying to grab my attention on the message. No guys, that is not always the case. Rather, they have studied the entire history of your credit transactions, or I would say your fund transaction, and on the basis of that fund transaction study, they have calculated your eligibility, and on the basis of that eligibility, they offer you the loan, and that loan is available without even reaching to the platform. We call it as digital lending because, as said, it works on automation and algorithms. It works on automation and algorithms. Verification process, and in this the verification is in person, but here the verification is obviously without going to the bank. You can verify yourself with the help of biometric sensors, or you can verify yourself with the help of video calls and all. Credit assessment, so here the credit assessment will done with the help of the credit score, but here the credit worthiness is not only done with the help of credit score, but it is also done on the basis of your past transaction records, which gives more confidence to the lender before providing the loan. Customer experience की बात करें तो customers, they have a good experience with traditional lending, but their experience is more convenient with digital lending because they are receiving the loan without even approaching to the bank or to the financial institutes. Risk management, so traditional lending relies on the risk assessment models and may be more conservative in its lending practices, because banks, they will try to provide secured loan only, they will try to provide loan against collateral only, but in case of digital lending, they often offer easier loans. They often offer the loans which can be termed as unsecured or partially secured in the category of, or in the context of, lender. So as a whole, if I conclude, digital lending is a practice where the banking services are provided on a digital mode, especially the lending services, from day one when you apply for a loan till the last date when the loan is basically dispersed into your bank account. If all the services are provided into your bank account, that is basically, or it is provided through a digital mode, that is known as digital lending. Now, with respect to this digital lending, a master direction has been introduced by RBI, and this master direction, it includes few changes in comparison to the past one. But if you have not read the previous digital lending master direction of RBI, then for you it's a whole new document, and trust me, it's going to be very easy. एक एक करके जैसे शुरू करूंगा, बहुत जल्द अगले 15 से 20 मिनट में ये पूरे का पूरा टॉपिक खत्म हो जाएगा, आपको पता भी नहीं चलेगा. Is it okay guys? Let's get started. Okay, here we go with the first point. जब भी कभी आप RBI का कोई भी मास्टर डायरेक्शन पढ़ते हैं, whenever you download the PDF of the master direction, it starts with the first one. If you remember, जो हमने framework regulations में भी किया था, if RBI is coming up with the new regulation or amendment, it will start with the capacity of RBI, that why RBI is capable to amend this particular regulation, or why RBI is capable, or what are the powers, or under which act RBI possesses the powers to present this particular amendment. So I'm starting in the same manner. According to this particular master direction, it starts with the term that is preamble. What is this? Sir, it is preamble of RBI. It says that when RBI was set up, initially when RBI was set up with the sole motive that RBI will be responsible for the monetary and financial stability of the economy. RBI will be responsible for issuing and distribution of money supply in the economy, and RBI will be responsible for credit supply control and regulation. So keeping this point, credit supply control and regulation, it gives RBI power to regulate and control the regulated entities with respect to their credit supply mechanism. Please read on the screen. Reserve Bank of India is statutorily means as per RBI Act 1934, RBI possesses this power, that RBI will operate, or RBI will manage the credit system of the country, manage the credit system of its country and encourage innovation in the financial system, product and credit delivery while ensuring orderly growth, financial stability and protection of depositors and borrowers' interest. So these are the powers which were given to RBI at the time of setting up of RBI. ठीक है जी, तो यहां से एक बात क्लियर हो गई कि अगर लोन लेंडिंग रिलेटेड कोई भी डायरेक्शन आएगी उसके लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल कौन होगा? आरबीआई, बिकॉज दिस पावर हैज बीन गिवन टू आरबीआई अंडर इट्स प्रीएम्बल इटसेल्फ। दैट मींस जो इसके आरबीआई को बनाने के पीछे बेसिक लॉजिक था, उस लॉजिक में ये पावर्स आरबीआई को डिलीवर की गई थी। सेकंड पॉइंट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, ध्यान से देखना। द कंसर्न्स प्राइमरली रिलेट टू अनब्रिडल्ड एंगेजमेंट ऑफ द थर्ड पार्टीज। अब पॉइंट आया कि सर आरबीआई इस मास्टर डायरेक्शन को क्यों ला रहा है? Why RBI is coming up with this master direction? Sir, RBI is coming up with this master direction because of due to the involvement of third parties, due to the mis-selling of products, due to the breach of data privacy, due to the unfair business conduct, due to extra interest rate charge as well as the unethical recovery practices which are performed by the lenders in the market, RBI has to come up with these master directions. RBI has to come up with these master directions. So due to these reasons, RBI has come up with the revised master directions. In exercise, so RBI has utilized its powers given under RBI Act 1934, even NHB Act 1987, Factoring Regulation Act 2011, Credit Information Companies Act 2005, Reserve Bank of India has utilized all its powers mentioned under these different acts in order to present this master direction so that RBI can safeguard the interest of the depositor as well as the interest of the borrower. But in this case, major concern is interest of the borrower. Moving on to the next point, the short title and commencement. If you open up this particular master direction, you will find out in this it is clearly mentioned that this master direction will be termed as Reserve Bank of India Digital Lending Directions 2005. These directions shall come into force immediately. So it says that these directions, they will come into force immediately except two directions. One which is mentioned under para 6 of this direction. I'll make you understand which direction it is. It will be effective from 1st of November, and second one is para 17 which will be effective from 15th of June 2025. अगर मैं आपको बताऊं इस डायरेक्शन में जो दो क्वेश्चन पूछे जाने के पूरे चांसेस है वो यही है। पहला क्वेश्चन पूछे जाने के चांसेस है रिलेटेड टू द डायरेक्शन which is going to be applicable from 1st of November 2025, और दूसरा जो क्वेश्चन पूछे जाने के चांसेस है that is related to the direction which is going to be applicable from 15th of June 2025. Once I'll complete the discussion, both the terms will be surely clear to you. ठीक है जी, चलो moving on to the first point. This is very important. ये question काफी बार पूछा जाता है. The question is asked in this manner. RBI Reserve Bank of India Digital Lending Direction 2025 is applicable on which of the following entities? So if this kind of question is asked, you must be aware that it is applicable on which of the following entities. So this is applicable on all the commercial banks of the country. It is applicable on all the primary cooperative banks, state cooperative banks, central cooperative banks. It is applicable on all non-banking financial companies, including the housing finance companies, as well as it is applicable on all India financial institute, which means I'm talking about it is applicable on NABARD, it is applicable on SEBI, it is applicable on EXIM, it is applicable on NABFID, as well as it is applicable on one is left now, NHB. It is applicable on NHB. So these directions, they are applicable on all the regulated entities that include the commercial banks, the NBFCs, as well as it include the cooperative banks, and even it include all India financial institutes as well. मतलब अगर NABARD किसी को लोन देना चाहता है that through digital lending, then they must fulfill the criteria or the conditions which are mentioned under this particular direction. इसका मतलब ये है. ठीक है जी, clear हुआ? Moving on to the next point. Now the next point says there are certain terms which are mentioned, और in the terms का understanding होना काफी जरूरी है. We are clear with these terms, then only we can understand the further direction. So the first term we have is annual percentage rate. Guys, have you ever heard this annual percentage rate? देखो annual percentage rate का मतलब क्या होता है? It's very easy to understand. There is an individual A. A approached to the bank to borrow a loan. A approached to a bank to borrow a loan. Bank has charged 7% rate of interest against this loan. 7% rate of interest against this loan. And along with this, bank is charging 1,000 rupees as fees, 1,000 rupees as a fees on regular basis, on annual basis. So when we talk about the lending rate of the loan, so lending rate of the loan is 7%. But when I include rate of interest as well as the other charges, the fees and all, for example, when you approach to the bank and bank asks you कि भैया loan collateral क्या दोगे? आपने कहा sir I will give my land as a collateral. So bank will say you ठीक है आप अपने land के papers लेके आइएगा, we will get it valuated. So that valuation process will be completed by the bank against a fees which is going to be charged by you. So you are the one, borrower is the one who is going to pay the fees. We call it as application fees. There are some charges which you have to pay every year. They are known as annual charges. For example, credit card. In case of credit card, you are supposed to pay the annual charges. So when you include interest as well as the interest as well as the charges, when you include the interest as well as charges and you calculate the resultant rate of interest, let's say the resultant rate of interest is 8%, which include lending rate as well as the charges, we call it as annual percentage rate. So annual percentage rate is the actual criteria. It is the actual, we can say, parameter which should be used by you and me before deciding that whether we should borrow loan from this bank or not. What we generally do कि भैया उस बैंक का rate of interest है 9%, उसका 10%, let's borrow from this क्योंकि ये 9% पे loan दे रहा है. That is true. 9% is less than 10. But the moment you sit and finalize your loan document, you come across with certain hidden charges which were not displayed or which were not disclosed at the time of offering you the 9% rate of interest, which was a verbal offer. फिर वो कहेंगे नहीं सर 9% plus conditions मैंने कहा था आपने सुना नहीं. So that will be 9 plus something. And now in this case, in the first case, your annual percentage rate is 11. On the other side, which was charging lending rate of 10%, but its actual annual percentage rate is 10.5%. So you should go with annual percentage rate basis comparison, which will help you to choose a worthy lender so that you can enjoy the benefits on your lending rate savings. Second point is default loss guarantee. So what is this default loss guarantee? If I give you a very simple answer, default loss guarantee, it is basically a contractual agreement when an individual A reaches to a bank to borrow a loan, and on the behalf of A, C comes in the picture and C says, sir, मैं A की guarantee लेता हूँ, I am ready to sign a contract with you. If A is not in the position to pay back the loan, then I will be paying on the behalf of A. This is known as default loss guarantee, a contractual agreement called by whatever name between the regulated entity, that is bank, and another entity, under which the latter, that means the another entity, guarantees to compensate the regulated entity for the loss due to the default up to a certain percentage of loan portfolio specified upfront. So it can be 100% guarantee, it can be 80% guarantee, it can be 90% guarantee, depending upon the guarantee agreement, that is known as default loss guarantee. Next point is digital lending applications or platforms. What are these digital lending applications or platforms? then my answer to this particular question is, guys, you must be using your bank's application, and on that particular bank application, if you have even tried, you can apply for loan on that bank application itself. So those bank applications which allows you to borrow loan through digital format, they are known as digital lender application. But these are not the only apps, not only banks, even the NBFC applications, which do not only provide you the platform to manage your account, but also which gives you a, I would say, capability to enjoy the financial institute provided services on the application itself. So if that application provides you with the digital loan, then we will call it as digital lending application. So digital lending application can be mobile or web-based application on a stand-alone basis or as a part of function of an application with user interface that facilitates digital lending services. DLA shall include applications of the regulated entities, that is banks, as well as those which are operated by lending service providers. Now the question is, so what do you understand by the word lending service providers? Let's try to decode this term. Lending service provider is now on your screen. So lending service provider is an agent. For example, I'm taking an example, guys. There is a company named Paytm. And if I'm not wrong, I can say that Paytm was the first, or I would say one of the first companies in the country which promoted digital payments, So we can say that Paytm is the company which possesses highest number of customers who are dealing in the digital transactions. So keeping this user set in mind, many of the banks like Jammu and Kashmir Bank, which do not possess much exposure to the public. There is a bank called as RBL Bank, again, which do not possess much exposure to the public. Then we have Standard Chartered Bank. It's a foreign bank operating in India, but do not possess much exposure to the public. That means public is not very frequently visiting their branches. They do not have big customer base. So in that particular scenario, these banks and some of the NBFCs, they tie up with Paytm, and Paytm will become a platform where digital lending can be done. So I am an individual. The moment I approached on Paytm, there was an option digital loan. The moment I clicked on digital loan, they asked me, what is the requirement? Up to 1 lakh, less than 1 lakh. I said my requirement is up to 1 lakh. Then they asked me, what is the lending rate you are thinking to pay against this loan? I said up to 10%. Then they asked me, what is the return procedure, whether you will pay back your loan in installments or you will make the return in lump sum form on completion of the time period. That means 1 साल के बाद principal और interest एक बार में वापस करोगे या नहीं. तो उन्होंने मुझसे कुछ conditions भरवाई. They basically tried to know that what demand as a customer I have in my mind. The moment they had my demand, now what will be done? Paytm will check J&K Bank, RBL Bank and SEBI, their services. If any of them out of the three, if any of them providing the services under this category, let's say J&K Bank is saying, I am ready to provide a loan of 1 lakh at 9% per annum. I am okay with lump sum rate of interest. So this will be visible to the customer कि भैया अगर आपको loan चाहिए, you can take from J&K Bank, and Paytm will act as a mediator to get you Paytm will act as a mediator so that you can get the loan. But on the other side, not only this, Paytm will also showcase RBL Bank in the list, but वहां पे लिखा होगा क्यों eligible नहीं है RBI या RBL आपकी कौन सी condition को fulfill नहीं करता. For example, RBI accept payment only in installments. SCB, sir, it provide loan, but its lending rate is greater than 10%. So which means Paytm is the lending service provider. It is the platform which showcase the matching deals, as well as it also showcase the rejected deals to the customer. If customer wants to change it and choose the rejected one. If not, customer can change or customer can choose the service which is available to it. The moment customer chooses it from J&K Bank, the amount will be directly credited into the bank account of the customer. Amount will be directly credited into the bank account of the customer. Customer is not supposed to pay any kind of fees, any kind of charges to the lending service provider. All the services, all the charges, all the commissions which are supposed to be paid, that will be paid by the bank itself depending upon the tie-up they have done. Depending upon the tie-up they have done. समझ आ गई बात? क्लियर हो गया? काम कैसे चलता है सर? काम ऐसे चलता है कि अगर आपके पास एक एप्लीकेशन है, उस एप्लीकेशन पे 3 बैंक है, एक कस्टमर ने आके लोन मांगा तो लोन की कंडीशन पहले पूछ ली, उन लोन की कंडीशंस को पूछने के बाद मैच किया अपनी लिस्ट के साथ, जिसके साथ मैच हो गया वो बता दिया, जिसके साथ मैच नहीं हुआ वो भी बता दिया। जैसे ही आपने फाइनल किया, लोन डायरेक्टली बैंक से आपके अकाउंट में क्रेडिट हुआ, आपने कोई चार्जेस नहीं देने मीडिएटर को जो भी चार्जेस, जो भी कमीशन है वो कौन देगा? बैंक, क्योंकि वो बैंक के बिहाफ पर आपको लोन दे रहा है और जो प्रॉफिट वो कमाएगा, जो कमीशन वो कमाएगा, दैट विल बी अर्निंग फ्रॉम द बैंक इटसेल्फ। क्लियर होगी ये बात? समझ आ गया? ये क्लियर हो गया तो समझ लो मास्टर डायरेक्शन मोटी मोटी क्लियर हो गई। बेसिक मास्टर डायरेक्शन इज नाउ क्लियर टू यू। चलो लेट्स मूव अहेड। सो फर्स्ट इज ड्यू डिलिजेंस रिक्वायरमेंट with respect to lending service providers. So instructions: digital lending, transparency in aggregation of loan products from multiple lenders. A draft circular was introduced by RBI in April 2024 और उसी draft circular का इस particular direction में final instructions दे दी हैं कि how lending will be done, what will be the process followed, what all conditions are need to be followed by the lending service provider in case of digital lending. First point is related to due diligence requirement with respect to lending service provider. So with respect to lending service provider, pehla point, digital lending by regulated entity which has involved lending service provider shall be carried out under a contractual agreement between the regulated entity and lender service provider, which clearly defines the role, rights and obligation of the each party. समझ आया? इसका मतलब ये है कि अगर आप बैंक हैं and you are tying up with a lending service provider, then you must sign a contract, and on that contract it should be clearly mentioned that what are the rights you are giving to the lender service provider and what rights will be in the hands of the regulated entity. Second point says the regulated entity shall conduct enhanced due diligence before they enter into an agreement with lending service provider for a digital lending, taking into account lending service provider technical capability. कि भैया जब आप as a bank किसी के साथ, as a NBFC किसी lending service provider के साथ tie up कर रहे हैं, make sure कि that lending service provider is capable. If you feel they are capable, then only go for a transaction. Otherwise, you should not tie up with these kind of lending service providers, which will undoubtedly defame the name of the actual regulated entity. Regulated entity shall carry out periodic review of the conduct of LSP. So you should review the operations of lending service provider on regular basis with respect to the contracts, the agreements which you have already signed. मैं यहाँ पे एक चीज आपको समझाना चाहूंगा so that there is no confusion. What I'm trying to say, guys, see, we have banks, है ना? We have NBFCs. So banks and NBFCs, they are providing loan. Now, if banks like SBI, they have their own application, for example, YONO, you only need one. I don't know how many of you have heard about it. This application YONO, where our RBI is offering digital lending directly to the public through its own app. We call it as digital lending application, which is owned by bank itself. We call it as digital lending application, which is owned by bank itself. On the other side, there is an NBFC, I'm just taking example X. This NBFC X do not have any application, so it has tied up with a fintech company. It has tied up with a fintech company, and this fintech company has given or offered a digital lending application specifically for this X NBFC. Again, it will be known as DLA. On the other side, there is an NBFC named Y. It approached to a fintech company. It approached to a fintech company and asked that fintech company, sir, I want to provide digital loan to my customer. Is it possible? They said, yes, we have a digital lending application. The name of our digital lending application is, let's say, Paytm. So if you want, you can register yourself. Why ask that only my loans will be provided to the public? No, not only your loans. N number of other banks and NBFCs are registered on us, and that is the reason we are known as lending service provider. So this is lending service provider, this is digital lending application, and these are the actual regulated entities. Is this point clear, guys? Is this point clear? इस डायग्राम को देखकर is this point clear to everyone? One second. इस डायग्राम को देखकर is this point clear to everyone कि ये क्या है? Sir, these are the regulated entities. These are the digital lending applications and the mediator on which many of the regulated entities are registered, and with the help of one of its digital lending application, it provides this service. This is known as lending service provider. This is known as lending service provider. बोलो समझ आया? बोलो समझ आ गया? Is this point clear? Is this point clear? If it is clear, just give me yes, sir, so that I can move ahead. If this point clear, just give me yes, sir, so that I can move ahead. Okay, thank you. Moving back to the point. The next point is regulated entity shall lay down. This is very important. Regulated entity shall lay down a part of its policy suitable monitoring mechanism for its loan portfolio which is originated with lending service provider. So these are the duties which are ought to be performed. These are the duties which are ought to be performed by the regulated entities if they are tying up. Is ought to be performed by regulated entities if they have tied up with the lending service providers. दूसरा point आता है regulated entity lending service provider arrangement involving multiple lenders. Multiple lenders का मतलब जैसे मैंने example ली थी कि we have Paytm. On Paytm we have many of the regulated entities which have registered, and then loan is provided to the customer. Please pay attention. Lending service provider shall provide a digital view of all loan offerings matching the borrower request on the digital lending application. समझ आया कि भैया आपके पास जो भी regulated entities हैं उनमें जो regulated entities are in a position to fulfill the requirement of the customer, you should give the list कि भैया आपकी जो requirements हैं they are matched by these three of the regulated entities, and these are the other four regulated entities with me which do not fulfill your or which do not match your requirement. So the name of unmatched lenders shall also be disclosed. So you will disclose the name of the matched lenders as well as unmatched lenders. The digital view of loan offers from matching lenders shall include the name of the regulated entity, extended the loan offer, amount and tenure of the loan, APR, annual, what was that? I just gave you the answer. What is annual APR? याद आया? Definition इसीलिए बताई थी starting में. Annual percentage rate. I hope it is clear to you. So that is annual percentage rate. So you must disclose the annual percentage rate, monthly repayment obligations as well as penalties. So जितनी भी details हैं, you must share the entire detail with the customer. The content displayed by lender service provider shall be unbiased. That means you should not promote any one of the registered regulated entities with you, you should treat all the registered entities with you, or I would say you should treat all the registered entities equal, and you should promote them equally in front of the customer depending upon the requirements. The next point says assessing the borrower's credit worthiness. Sir, how borrower credit worthiness is assessed with the help of, or in the case of digital lending. So regulated entities shall obtain the necessary information relating to the economic profile of the borrower with a view to assess the borrower's credit worthiness before extending any loan, including minimum age, occupation and income details. As I said, the regulated entity, it shall obtain the necessary information. What all necessary information? That is the economic profile of the borrower, which must include the borrower credit worthiness. It includes the borrower age, occupation and income details. Regulated entity should also ensure that there is no automatic increase in credit limit unless an explicit request is made. So first, on the basis of your detail, a limit will be announced that you are allowed to borrow a digital loan of 2 lakh rupees, and let's say you opt for it. The moment you opt for it and you request that I want to borrow loan more than 2 lakhs, it can be increased to 3 lakhs only if you are requesting for it. Without your request, the limit cannot be revised, the limit cannot be increased. What all information you are supposed to share with the borrower? Who are you? Either you are a digital lending application or you are a lending service provider. So key fact statement, you must share the key fact statement. What is this key fact statement? So key fact statement should include all the details. What is the loan amount? What is the loan period? What is the tenure? What will be the lending rate? What are the charges? If you miss the installment, what will be the penalty? If you want to pre-close the loan, what will be the extra charges you are supposed to pay? What will be the, I would say, penalty if you are not paying your installment in time? What will happen if the loan is declared as NPA? So all that information should be disclosed with the customer. So key fact statement, summary of the loan product, which includes sanction letter, terms and conditions, account statement, privacy policy. With respect to the storage and usage of the borrower's data, everything will be shared with the customer at the time of lending itself. Next point is regulated entity shall maintain a website of their own in public domain. So अगर आपने मान लो, let's say you have borrowed a loan from Paytm, but the actual lender, the regulated entity which is providing you the loan, is an NBFC, and the name of that NBFC is X. ठीक है? Name of that NBFC is X. This X is providing you the loan with the help of lending service provider. I am naming the lending service provider as Paytm, and you are a customer. You have borrowed the loan through Paytm. But future mein, if you witness any concern, if you have any concern, any issue, then in that particular case, this customer can directly reach to the X website. Customer can directly reach to the X website, क्योंकि ultimately for all the issues, regulated entity is going to be answerable. So regulated entity shall maintain a website of their own in public domain, which shall be kept up to date. Enter with the following details. First one, detail of all the digital lending products and its DLA. So वहाँ पे लिखा होगा उस X website पे कि yes, we have tied up with Paytm. On our behalf, Paytm is providing the loan. So you can click on Paytm. So details of the LSPs and DLAs of the LSPs along with the detail of the activities for which have been engaged, सारी details वहाँ पे दी होंगी. Particulars of the regulated entity, customer care and internal grievance redressal mechanism भी वहाँ पे होगा. जैसे ही आप Paytm पे click करोगे, they will ask you if you have any complaint. You click on that C complaint word. That is what? So that is the internal grievance redressal mechanism of X. That will be grievance redressal mechanism of X. अगर आपकी complaint resolve हो गई तो ठीक है. But if you feel that you have not received any reply for 30 days, or maybe your complaint is rejected, then what can you do? Sir, in case of NBFC, in case of bank, you can go to the integrated ombudsman scheme. So similarly, in this case also, you will reach to CIMS, you will reach to CMS, that is complaint management system. The moment you reach to complaint management system, your complaint will be registered, and as per the ombudsman scheme, action will be taken. As per the ombudsman scheme, action will be taken. So regulated entity should ensure that digital lending applications and lender service providers, they have linked to the above website of the regulated entities, and they must know that if any complaint is registered against the regulated entity due to the operations which are not performed properly by digital lending applications or legal service provider or the lending service providers, they should be in looped, they should be aware what is happening all and around. The next point is in case of loan default. In case of loan default, when a recovery agent is assigned, or if there is any change in the recovery agent, then it should be informed to the borrower through the email or SMS. ये point बहुत important है. ये point क्यों important है? क्योंकि पहले ये applicable नहीं था. Earlier, what was the scenario? You have borrowed a loan from an application or from a lending service provider X, और actual जो lender है, that is SBI. So SBI used to send their recovery agents directly, and customer was not aware of it. And due to this, many frauds have been recorded in the past. So in order to overcome this, now it has been clearly mentioned that if a new recovery agent will be appointed or the recovery agent is revised, changed, then in both the cases, detail will be shared to the customer either through an SMS or through an email, so that no fraud activity can be done. Next point is loan dispersal, services and repayments. Disbursement of the loan, regulated entity shall always be made in the bank account of the borrower. जैसा मैंने कहा था कि एक X कंपनी है, mediator है Paytm, borrower है A, so amount will be directly credited into the account of A. It will not be flowing through this third party. It won't be flowing through the lending service provider. Regulated entity shall ensure that any fees, charges, reimbursement payable to lending service provider are paid directly by the regulated entity, not by the customer. Customer will not pay any kind of charge to the lending service provider. In case अगर रिकवरी फिजिकल हो रही है, रिकवरी फिजिकल का मतलब कि आपके पास रिकवरी एजेंट पहुंचा, उसने आपसे 10,000 रुपए कैश recover kiye, that 10,000 rupees which has been recovered in the form of cash, that will also be updated. That will also be updated in your loan account by the end of the day in which the recovery was done. This clause has also been clearly mentioned. This clause has also been clearly mentioned. Got it? Moving on to the next, this is very important, that is cooling off period. First question is, what do you understand by the word cooling off period? If this question is asked to you, your answer should be loud and clear. Cooling off period means the time period until which you are allowed to cancel or return the loan. You are allowed to cancel or return the loan you have borrowed. For example, I approached to an application, and on that application I applied for the loan, and the loan was credited into my bank account today itself on 20th of May 2025. But the moment this loan account was credited, I received a message that for this particular loan, cooling off period is 7 days, which means within a span of 7 days, I can cancel the loan. The entire amount which has been credited as a loan in my account, I can repay back to the lender, and my loan account can be closed without paying any penalty at that particular moment. So what is cooling off period? Borrower shall be given an explicit option to exit digital loan by paying the principal as well as the proportionate annual percentage rate without any penalty during an initial period which is known as cooling off period. And remember, cooling off period should not be less than 1 day. It should be always greater than 1 day. Regulated entity may retain a reasonable one-time processing fee. So it may charge you a reasonable one-time processing fee at the time of exit, but no penalty will be charged in case of closing down the loan within the cooling period. This is a very important point you need to remember. Next point is grievance redressal, as we have already discussed. Facility of lodging the complaint shall be made available. So you have a complaint registration facility available on the digital lending application. It is available on the website as well. The moment you register your complaint, wait for 30 days. If you don't receive a satisfactory answer, then you can register your complaint on CMS, that is Complaint Management System, with RBI, and your complaint will be resolved under the RBI Integrated Ombudsman Scheme. We all know the procedure. We all have studied n number of times for the same. Moving on to the next, collection, usage and sharing of data with the third party. So regulated entity shall ensure that any collection of data done by digital lending application as well as lending service provider is need based. That means you should be sharing or you should be collecting the data which is very much required, and that too with prior and explicit consent of the borrower having audit trail. So you should be receiving or you should be calling for the required data, and you should be taking up the consent of the borrower that we are taking your data for so and so purpose. Borrower shall be provided an option to give or deny any consent for the use of the data. You can deny that please do not disclose my data to the third party. If you deny it, your data will not be disclosed. Storage of data. So regulated entity should ensure that lending service provider which are engaged by them do not store personal information of the borrower except some minimum data. So you should not store the personal information. You just store the minimum data like name, address, contact details of the customer that may be required to carry out their operation or service with the scope of regulated entity lending service provider agreement. Regulated entity shall ensure that no biometric data is either stored or collected by the regulated entity or lending service provider unless allowed under the statutory guidelines. So if it is allowed under the statutory guidelines, then only you are allowed to collect the biometric data, otherwise you are not allowed, and you must ensure that that the entire data is stored in India itself. Your data should not be stored on the servers outside India. Agar aapko yaad ho, this was the reason because of which PUBG was banned in India, because its server was in China and the entire data, or I would say the entire data of the users of India was stored on Chinese servers. So that is the reason it was a clause or the game was banned. If I'm not wrong, mujhe zyada nahi pata, jitna mujhe pata, I think it was in this direction. Now the same has been said, if you are a learning service provider, you are saving the data of the customer, that data should be stored in India only. You should not be storing that data outside India on the outside servers. That is a point which has been clearly mentioned. Then there are certain points related to the technology standards. So regulated entity should ensure that they and the lending service providers engaged by them should fulfill various technology standards requirements on cyber security. So you should fulfill the criteria on cyber security. Reporting to the credit information company. So if regulated entity is providing loan directly or through digital lending application or maybe through the lending service provider, in all the three cases, they are supposed to inform the credit information companies about the lending so that the credit score of the borrower can be recorded accordingly. So that is a condition which has been mentioned in this. Then we have reporting of DLAs to RBI. Sir, RBI, regulated entity shall report all digital lending. Regulated entity should report all digital lending application deployed or joined by them, whether their own or those of the lending service providers, either exclusively or as a platform participant on the CIMS. What is this news? This is very important. What does this news say? This news says that all the regulated entities, banks and BFCs, they should inform RBI with the help of RBI's, we can say, platform, that is centralized information management system. On this portal they should inform, for example, SBI, sir, ek to meri YONO app hai, I am providing digital loan through YONO app, even I am providing digital loan through Paytm app, even I am providing digital loan through PhonePe app. So they should give all the information that with all or with the help of which all digital lending applications they are providing the loan. Regulated entity should also update it. If you have added a new application or if you have subtracted the application, then also you should update this particular list. The chief compliance officer of the regulated entity or any other official designated by the board of the regulated entity purpose shall certify the data on DLA submitted by them on CIMS. That means it should be submitted by them on CIMS, and this CIMS updated data or this updation is need to be completed by 15th of June 2025. So every bank, every regulated entity should update this data by 15th of June 2025, and by 1st of July 2025 you will get a list. So what is the benefit of this list? Benefit kya hai? I accidentally open up a lending service provider, the name is y.com. मैं जानता भी नहीं था, लेकिन जैसे मैंने वहां पे क्लिक किया, there was a, I would say, pop up on the screen. There was a, we can say, banner on the screen, and the banner was saying this application is collaborated with SBI, and if you will be opting for digital lending from this app, you will be receiving the loan actually from SBI. So I was convinced कि ठीक है यार, SBI से लोन लेने के बजाय यहाँ से ले लेते हैं, एक तो बैंक में जाना नहीं पड़ेगा, दूसरा यहाँ पे lending rate भी कम है. But that was just a marketing gimmick. They have not tied up with SBI. That was a wrong information shared by them to me. Now, in order to overcome this situation, RBI has asked the regulated entities that you should update the CIMS, that whether you are tied up with how many digital lending applications, with how many lending service providers, and what is the name of your application. Now, customer can check the list, and customer can be double sure ki whether SBI is collaborated with that company or not. So in that particular format, you can reach to RBI website. On the RBI website, you can check out the list, and in front of SBI, if the y.com is mentioned, that means the particular website is true, you can borrow. But if y.com is not mentioned, that means that application is lying. You should not borrow from that application if you're thinking that the loan is given by SBI. Moving on to the last point. The last point over it says that is the before 1st July 2025 it will be available. ठीक है जी? I think all the points are clear. So these are some of the important points related to this particular master direction. One point which I have ignored is that is digital lending guarantee. RBI की एक और master direction है, in which this digital lending direction is mentioned. So the digital lending direction related to digital lending will be discussed in one separate class, and that class will be linking the another master direction of RBI, and I'm pretty sure वो वहाँ पे समझ आ जाएगा. So there's nothing to worry. I hope the entire direction is clear. 3 questions यहाँ से बनने की उम्मीद है. पहला, as I said, 15th June, 1st of July, 15th June, 1st of July, and जो second question बनने की उम्मीद है, that is related to the working, the way I have explained you, and third is related to the important definitions which I have explained you, the important financial terms which I have discussed with you in this particular news. If all the terms, if all the discussions are clear, just give me yes sir, so that we can conclude the discussion, and I will be catching you all in the next session to go. Don't forget to give me the answer of the question which I have given you as a homework. That is the 7th question given in the PDF, which you can download from the Telegram channel. Check it out and give me the answer in the comment section. I will be waiting for your answers in the comment section. As per your, I would say, comments in the previous session, I have started my homework now. I have started making handwritten notes for the RBI circulars, and I think I'll start providing you with these handwritten notes by next week onwards. Not all, but जैसे जैसे बनते जाएंगे, एक एक दो circulars जैसे जैसे ready होते जाएंगे, I will be providing you the PDFs on my Telegram channel itself. So give me a time for 1 week. It will start floating on the Telegram channel itself. Got it, guys? Thank you so much for joining. We'll catch you in the next session. Bye bye. Good luck. God bless you all. Take care.